I've been Daniel.
I'm Hanan.
I'm James.
And I'm John.
And we record podcasts nobody asks us to record.
That's great.
We're joined today by two really, really exciting guests. We're with John and James Makanjwala, the Maka Group Services boys. They have a combined following of over 250,000 across their social media platforms.
They've worked with the likes of BBC, British Airways, been featured on Simon Squibb, have this really cool upcoming business and really growing their social media to promote their business as well. So it's really great to have them on.
You'll recognize them from their tagline. I'm John.
I'm James. And I'm John. And we clean places nobody asks us to clean.
Guys, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
I want to start by saying how impressive your achievements have been so far. You've had a really fast and meteoric rise to essentially fame.
We kind of want to just kind of get your background, understand your story, where things started.
So obviously I'm John, that's James. And we run a cleaning company, and in our spare time we go around cleaning places nobody asks us to clean for free. And that's how we're here today on the podcast, and that's how many of the things we've achieved actually started happening. To answer your question, how it all started, depends how far you want to go back.
Yeah.
We were at secondary school, so we weren't the smartest, we weren't the brightest at school. So essentially what it was, out of a class of 20, James and I were like 17 or 18. That's where we were. So then we were like, okay, we realized, I don't think we're good at education or that good. We did okay at GCSEs, enough to get to sixth form, went to sixth form. One of my friends said,
Actually, just before that, because John skipped a bit.
I did.
So back in secondary, so we're 15 we were homeless at 15. So we've slept under a table. We slept under where a storage bike is, with myself, my brother, my two other brothers, and my mum. So yeah, that experience was an unbelievable experience, but it's the cornerstone and the foundation of what we have today. And going through that, it was an undescribable moment. I don't even know how to even think about it now. It's just like a blur. But it was a moment that I wouldn't change. Like, people ask me, would you go back? Would you change it? Absolutely not. Because if I didn't go through it, I wouldn't be here we are today.
Once we went through all of that, sixth form then happens. My friends and all of them, they're all going to McDonald's, KFC and all of that, going to eat. And I was like, well, I don't want to ask my mum for money. So I said, well, what is the way? I said, then my friend said, okay, why don't you start selling in school? And I was like, okay. Selling sweets, crisps, all of those kind of things. And then we were like, okay, why not? But I said to him, I don't have the money. He said, don't worry, guys, I'll front you guys the money. So he fronted us the money, and then we started it. And then we actually did very well at it, to be fair. And it was one of those, we start selling to teachers. But I think we got away with it because they liked us. If they didn't like us, they'll stop that. But we started, and then it was one of those things, we actually got some people to work for us for a little bit, and people said it wouldn't work. This is where we first learned competition. So he was a friend. He was like, I love you guys. You guys are doing great, but I just don't like that you guys have 100% of the market. So he said, you know what, I'm going to come in. But he always said it, but I didn't think he would actually do it. So he did it. And then he came in and then was like, oh, we're losing our customers because he's cheaper than us. So I said, okay, what's one of the genius way? So we started bringing loyalty cards. So we said, for every crisp, sweets or thing you buy, you get one. So after you've collected 10, you get a free product from the bag. And that smashed it. Yeah. And it did so well that even he started copying it. But that's how the whole entrepreneur thing all started, through basically sixth form.
Yeah, I think at that point, that's when we had the real taste of business, and we finally found something we're good at. All from primary to sixth form, I didn't know what I was good at. It wasn't academics. I didn't know my skills. We left secondary the complete opposite of who we are. Insecure about our height was actually the biggest one.
Yeah.
So in sixth form, we had to really look back at ourselves and just say that we wanted to change that. And then the other cornerstone of why we do it is that we haven't seen our dad in 17 years.
So I'm seeing a lot of motivational drivers for you guys, and I'd love to touch on those more in detail. Experiencing homelessness, being short, These are things that drive us to succeed, to prove people wrong. I'd love to jump more into that. So you guys started a cleaning company. We want to ask, why a cleaning company? What led you to that kind of industry?
Well, first of all, it was God. God gave us the idea of starting a cleaning company. And second of all is we always said, why don't we start a cleaning company or something that we're good at? So when we were at uni, we used to be like the flat mums. So like everyone would just mess it up and then we just had to tidy up. And then it got to a point I just got fed up. I thought being able to clean was a common thing before I went to uni. And I realized that it's not. So it was like, why don't we start the cleaning company? We're going to start it while we were at uni. And then we realized that wasn't going to work because we need to focus on just securing the degree. And once we get the degree, we went in fully.
I mean, I love that. Like, I was speaking to Daniel on the train on the way here, and I was just talking about how, while it might not seem like the most, like, I think people are always chasing to do roles which are like quite glamorous, or like they're trying to do everything for like a subset of population, are usually like the wealthiest. And I was just explaining to him, like, even one of my mates, like, their family is multi-millionaires, and the way they've done it is all they do is transport dirt. They move dirt from A to B.
That is impressive.
That's
and
impressive.
like it makes you realize like these, like, that's where a lot of people should also consider like where they want to start businesses. It's something where everyone can do, but also like everyone wants it and needs it. And I love that about you guys, because
Thank you.
like it's such a niche, and like you guys can do really well at it and just make it something that's really great. Of course, you guys were at uni, you decided, okay, we're going to start a cleaning business. What else really made you decide, okay, we're not going to follow the traditional corporate routes like that are quite followed after uni, and we're going to start our own thing?
Before actually I move on to that question, I like that you brought that up, because James and I always say it to ourselves, is that if you look around you, there are people that make millions of people. Somebody makes millions of just producing this, and you just, there's some things that you don't think about, and that's what we always trying to tell people, that sometimes it's not about the glamorous things. Is I think the most unglamorous things, or the things you don't think about, probably make the most amount of money that you just don't realize it. So then to move on to your question, when we first started the cleaning company, so when God told us the idea, we were obviously at university. So we were like, okay, why don't we start a cleaning company for students? So we said, okay, you know what, let's start it. So we then, when we started doing it, we were like, but at that point, we realized that we wanted social media to be the core of our business, like the heartbeat. We've always said, even to this day, it's still the heartbeat of our business. So when we realized that, we said, okay, so we need to make student-friendly content so that students can relate to it, and then hopefully through that way they can book our cleaning service. But we quickly realized students don't care about cleaning and they don't care about the environment. So we then changed our business model from students to residentials. But residentials, they don't have to really get their house cleaned. It's really up to them, and they're more picky. Every house is different. So then we said, you know what, let's move to commercial spaces. And because commercial spaces, they have to get it clean. They have staff. They have all of these kind of people. It's always good that their area looks good for whatever they use it for. So we said, okay, let's go to that. Before we moved to commercial, along the way, we realized something. So there's a place called Bark. Bark is where cleaners or cleaning companies or other different kind of companies will come on and say, a customer will say, well, I need my house 3-bed house clean. And somebody said £50, £80, whatever. They'll say a price. And basically he's a bid into the lowest. But we said, well, what are they not doing? They're not using social media. I think the most amount of followers we saw somebody have...
It was the average for you to be the top within a cleaning company was 10K followers in total. So I was like, 10K? We can get to 10K. Didn't have a clue or idea of how we were going to go and do it, but was like, that's where we can compete. So we leveraged our creativity. That's where we leverage. And to go back to the traditional, why we didn't is because we've always done life a bit different. So we had the 3 options of grad job, masters, or the business. The business was the easiest one. Couldn't do another year at uni. And I couldn't get a job. Couldn't see myself getting a job. So it was like, okay, why don't we just start it? And we always said this was within the first year, was like, let's bet on ourselves for 1 year. If it didn't work out, we can just go back home.
Yeah.
If it did, that's great. Either way, it didn't matter. So we just said, let's bet on ourselves for 1 year. And that's what we done.
So the theme I'm seeing, and what I think is really, really interesting and compelling about your story, is that you were like, let's just start and we'll learn along the way. I think a lot of people stagnate because they're trying to plan perfectly. Whereas with you guys, you were like, let's just start with students. If it works, it works. And then you learn some stuff, move to residential, move to commercial, move to social media. And you had to go through those trials and tribulations in order to actually learn and develop those skills. So I think that's really indicative of why you've reached where you are now.
I think we were talking about agility earlier, right?
Yeah.
Like, although it was a bit of a different context, but like it's so important in business. And I like that because I thought you guys may have even started at commercial. But the fact that you're telling us that we started at uni, realize that doesn't work. And like that's part of what business is about, is like making those mistakes and then recognizing them and immediately being able to pivot. And that's kind of what's got you to where you guys are now. I want to know, how has your life changed since starting?
Our life, you know what it is, right? When we first started, we didn't know how to post an Instagram reel, story, didn't know how to post. So we were the people that never post on socials. You might see something from me maybe once every couple of years. That was it. So we were very off. We weren't anti-social. We weren't anti-social media. We're just off socials. We just basically lived in the moment. And then so when we started the company, we was like, let's put it on social media. So what a lot of people don't realize was 70% of our current content was filmed on my iPhone 12.
Mm-hmm.
A good chunk of it was a rubbish mic. Mm-hmm. First we had no mic, then a rubbish mic, then a Rode mic. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people skip that and go straight to a Rode mic. So in terms of it, how has it changed our lives? We never strived or never aimed to be someone who would be a public figure. That was never be the part of the plan. I think it changed our life in a way that we can see that what we're doing actually impacts people.
Yeah.
It has a positive impact, not just us on ourselves. It's like people are actually starting to care about the environment. And never have we ever said in any of our content, care about your environment.
That's true. And it's changed our life in many aspects, like personal, business. So some from the personal is like being recognized when you walk down the street.
Yeah.
Like just going to the shops or going to wherever we're going. And I'm like, wow, people. I think there was one time I was coming back from a long day. It was 10 p.m. I thought, I'm at the train station. Probably, surely nobody will recognize me. And then somebody then recognized me. And then we had a whole chat all the way to basically where he needed to get off. And I got off a few stops after. So being recognized is like, that's how it's changed our life. I think that's the biggest one, to be fair. People knowing who we are at certain places that we go. Another thing is that our friends, our families are like, they say our catchphrase and it's so weird. I laugh at it all the time when I hear it. And then it's all of those kind of things. And then it's one of those things that is actually kind of funny. When we first started like cleaning places for free, I'm going to be honest, I thought we were insane. Yeah. Some people said, wow, genius move, genius strategy. I said, yeah, we knew it was genius, but we questioned ourselves because there was a point where it's like, oh, this isn't really getting us what we want to get. Yeah. So we were like, well, are we doing it right? Then one of my aunties said, don't worry, guys. What you're doing, that you're cleaning places for free, will never go in vain. Just remember that. And I was like, you know what? It came at the right time because I needed that. Mm-hmm. So it was one of those kind of things. And it's changed our business life because what it's done, it's opened us opportunities and doors to like places we never thought we would have been able to get into.
Put us in rooms that, like even when I tell our family, there's like, wow, really? And I think a lot of people aim to strive. For example, we're very fortunate to be called a businessman and a content creator.
Yeah.
But we never strive to be both.
Yeah.
We only strive to be a businessman. And then a lot of people are chasing something, whereas if you provide value, that's what we've learned, it will come. So if you want to be a content creator, your aim shouldn't be, I want to get to this amount of followers. It should be, I want to provide great, valuable content, and then you get it.
I was just saying on the point about you guys being recognized, you guys are having a nice business lunch with your brand manager at Nando's. Then you get two annoying guys being like, "Oh, we recognize you. We love your content."
Funniest bit is like I showed Daniel your guys like TikTok.
Yeah.
I was like, I love this. Like two brothers, like look at their tagline. I was like, Daniel, we have to do something similar like this, right? So I had it ringing in Daniel's head, like we clean, like because of course we're in the dental business. We're like we clean people's teeth that nobody asks us to clean. Like we can't really do that, but like that's the tagline. I always said, how funny would it be to get these boys on? And then it just almost seems like fate that like you're just sitting across us and we're like, have to go speak to them.
If you're talking about
Like-
God told you to start the cleaning business, God told us to do this podcast with you. He looked over and was like, we have to speak to them. We have to speak to them. So yeah, again, I'm really glad you guys are here.
Thank you for
Oh,
having us.
thank you.
I wanted to talk about you guys starting social media. You said you always strive to be a businessman, not a content creator.
Yeah.
What was it like? Did you have any apprehensions or nerves or imposter syndrome when you started posting?
No. You know what it is, right? I think before we started our business, Jen and I, for at least 3 to 4 years, worked really hard on our mindset, on our mind. So imposter syndrome was not a thing. Doubt, not a thing. Obviously, you have doubt, but like whether it was going to be successful or not a thing. Before we started a business, we knew that the only way you get far in business or in life is how you think. Your mind is probably your biggest asset or your biggest downfall. It depends. You choose how you want it to be.
Yeah. How did you develop that though?
How did we develop that? It sounds corny, but back in, I think year 12, and then remember I said that we were insecure about height. So I wrote a list, or we wrote a list of the same thing of, I don't want to be like, a list of things that I want to be. I don't want to be insecure about my height. I can't remember the other ones, but we wrote a list. And on the tram, in public, I will read it. I'll read it out loud, and I will read it every single day as I'm going to school. Every single day as I'm going to school. And then that's what developed our mindset. And then we weren't just saying, I would love to do it. We were actually making actionable steps towards it. But literally, as corny as it, I remember my blazer, I would open it up and I'll read it. People were looking at it. It didn't matter. I didn't mind.
You know, you guys got comfortable being on trains, speaking publicly. Obviously led into, I think it was your most viral videos, you cleaning the tube.
train, yes. That was
That's awesome to hear.
That was crazy, cleaning the train. So we're coming back from a job, actually, that happened. Coming back from a job, we were on the train and God said, why don't you clean the train? I said, no, that's crazy, even for us.
Yeah.
So, I was like, okay, you know what? Let's ponder on it. Then I told James. James said, nah, John, I don't think we should do it. But we just ended up doing it and then it just smashed it. And then that's how people started to know us for many things. But the train video is one of the things that people truly know us
Like,
for.
I remember our first ever video. First ever idea that we tried. We were in Portsmouth. It was a place called Guildhall. Imagine we're here and then it's further back. A bunch of people are just looking at you. They're taking pictures, giggling, laughing. And with John and I just standing there with a whiteboard. I can't remember what it said. Something about higher service, something like that. Or people were laughing, giggling. I was like, you laugh, you giggle, at least you know about. So the next time you see us, you'll be like, oh, those are the guys that.
Yeah.
And that's basically how it is. Our biggest asset is our mind. So we made sure that we worked really hard on our mindset so that when we got into business, that it wasn't, and this wasn't done purposely, this was done accidentally. Or not the mindset was done intentionally, but like whether it would translate into business was not something that we intentionally tried to do. But yeah.
I find what you're saying really interesting because I have this concept. It's quite a common concept of cringe mountain, which is, have you heard of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people don't know what it is,
Yeah.
cringe mountain is you're posting content, you have a bit of imposter syndrome and you feel like what I'm doing might be construed as a bit cringy. People might think that I'm trying to be something that I'm not. And some people might actually criticize you and be a bit embarrassed on your behalf. But then you reach this flexion point where you go over the mound and you're over cringe mountain. Now it's everyone's like, John, James, can I get a picture with you? Oh, we always supported you. We always loved your content. But yeah, how was it climbing that? Did you experience that, first of all?
Yeah, you definitely do. But it wasn't more say other people, but it was more say ourselves, because when we started cleaning places for free, we knew it was a genius idea, because we were like, nobody's doing this or doing it in the way
Where
we imagined it to be done. So we said, well, we then told my little brother and my other very good friend, and they said, this is genius, guys. Let's just do that. So we started doing it. People were liking it, but some people were, I'm pretty sure they just didn't say it to us. Some people were thinking we were insane. You guys are meant to be getting paid. Why are you cleaning places free? It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because I was telling my friends the same advice that I told everybody else well before any of this, before it started doing well. I told them do the same things, but they didn't listen because I didn't have the
social proof.
The social proof. That's the problem. I didn't have the social proof. So it was more, for us, it was more like ourselves more than anybody else. Than anybody else. Because they just didn't say it to us.
I remember the second one we done, and based on like when talking to John, so we were doing it, the second one, this was behind the alleyway, right? We were doing it, and then it was literally right next to the house that we used to live. Then my brother and our very close friend, they walk by, they see us. First of all, they're shocked. We literally said, this is what we're going to do. I remember us jumping around, dancing, say, this is genius. This is the answer that we've been looking for. This will change how it is. No one else is doing it. We're getting our hands dirty. And I remember one woman asked, she said, are you just doing it? Are you doing it for something, or are you doing it for... Basically, you're just doing it for the community. I said, we're just doing it for the community. And funny in fact, this whole doing it for the community was never our fault. Why we started it was just to show people how good we are at cleaning. And then we was like, we want to show people how good we are at cleaning. So we just decided to post it on social media. And I never thought that it would be where it is today. Nor did I ever think it was a community-based thing. It was only to be, I love what you do for the community. It's like, really? Like, I never even, that was never even that was never our intention. That was never our perspective. And then we was like, we love doing it. So why don't we go and clean more places? And then we just kept doing it like that. And then,
Yeah. I wanted to ask, because there's also this concept of it takes, 10, 15 years to become an overnight success. So I'm sure with you guys, it wasn't just you posted one video and it went crazy. Because I looked through your old content. You guys were posting consistently for a while before one of them hit and went viral. So I wanted to ask, like, what was the flexion point? And what was the moment that everything changed for you?
That's easy.
And also, I just wanted to touch on this one point. And Nan said I shouldn't say this. I was going through your old content. Like, you're obviously grinding it out, making these videos. They're getting views, but they're not as popular as your newer ones. Your first video where you're introducing yourself and telling your story, I think that was very compelling. That one did actually get quite a lot of views.
Yeah,
it did.
I did also want to bring up the fact that, there was a top comment. I was like,
I know.
you guys are killing it. Keep going.
I already know that. But do you know what it is? When
For people at home, it's Young Philly. So is that your boy? You guys affiliated with him?
So in terms of, you were saying about how did we recognize? So before that, we were just looking at our content, and we just looked at the analytics, and was like, the average our current viewers were at was 30 seconds. So I looked at, and then John and I had this like back and forth. I was like, John, do we really need to make it 30 seconds? Why? And then we just decided, like, look, just let's post it at 30 seconds. First 30 seconds went viral.
Yeah. So but it took us, what people don't see.
Guess how many videos do you think it took us for us to get our first viral video?
It's not loads. I've seen a lot of people will post for years before it hits. And I think that's what's interesting about you guys is your content. You have so much confidence in yourself.
Yeah.
And you knew the idea was going to hit. So your case is very different. So I imagine with you guys, it must have been like maybe 20 videos?
No, 56.
56.
52 videos. It was those videos were, so we got, quote unquote, we got lucky for the first one because it did very well. Then after that, didn't. It didn't do well. We tried a lot of things. Once we then tried, we figured out what worked and we just doubled down doing it. And that's what it is. I think it's only until, like, my brother would say it. Because James and I, to be funny, all of these social media followers, they don't mean as much. How do I put this?
It's like, with other people, it's like I don't know. It's
Like, they use their followings as like their identity and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And it's like they put it on like a pedestal. Like they go to certain place and be like, oh, I've got 1,000 or 100K
Yeah.
followers. James and I don't do that.
No.
Yeah.
We would like I remember we went to some networking event and he said, you two, us two and somebody else, you guys are the most famous people in the room and you sat at the back. And I was like, yeah, because nobody needs to know all the time and all of those kind of things.
In terms of the content, actually how we did it, I'll take you through the process. So we looked at it, so that 30 seconds, we analyzed the other part. It didn't have a good hook. It wasn't fun. We weren't showing our personality.
Yes.
That was one of
That was the biggest
So there
key.
was a disconnect from the audience to ourselves. So we said it, and I remember when we recorded the first place that we cleaned, and then we're sitting there, and this is how we came up with the catchphrase. John was like, "I'm John," or was like, "I'm James," and I'm John. And I was like, "We clean places. Nobody asked us to clean," and that's how it became a thing. I remember just sitting down and was like, I didn't think anything of it. And after that, we just elevated it. So if you saw that in the old one, we didn't really add energy. And then in that we said, okay, so we've had an audio hook. So what's our visual hook? And that's when we jumped in and started doing this and this.
Yeah.
And basically, as it went, it developed. So we always, John and I are very analytical people. So we looked at our content and said, if I was somebody else, how would I view it? A lot of people I meet, they haven't posted 56 videos. Even that, they'll be like, you expect it in the first 10 seconds. No, not first seconds, first 10, and then you go viral. But virality is a system, it's a process, a formula that you need to have. If you get it in 10, well done. But it's really hard if you do. And if you don't, you just really have to try and grind it out. A lot of people always say to us, I'm stuck in this range, the 200 views. I would say like this. It's not the algorithm. The algorithm are people. People don't like your content. That's what it is. Like the algorithm is people. People are looking at it and thinking, I don't really like this. Scroll. That's how I always say it to people. And when you say it, it has a different mindset, different mentality.
You're right. I really like that because people are obsessing about algorithm. Let me make sure this is perfect. This is right. I mean, even by you guys just saying like it took 52 videos, that's not easy. Like,
No.
do you know what I mean? It's like you can't just ask people, or how did you do it? Or you guys got lucky, you just like tapped into the algorithm. But there's actually a lot of time and effort that went behind those like 52 videos. So would you say is there anything else that for those people putting themselves out on social media, any advice you would give them?
I think it's the biggest key is just being yourself, and it's time. People don't realize how valuable the time is, and when I say time, I'm talking about like you have to give it time for something to work, because some people, as James touched upon before, was like now. It took us 6-7 months before we started doing anything or it doing well. So, but people forget that, and they're like, oh well, it doesn't work now. So, like, give you an example. We started a new series called We Started Playing Cleaning Games. They didn't get many views, but we weren't looking at the views. See, that's why some people, it depends what they look for. Certain content, we want it to go viral because it's like a funnel. So if it goes viral, people will look at the other things and then it'll just bring it down. And then, but what it is what we then realized was that it's not about the views for those games. It's about the comments. It's about what people said. Sometimes analyze what people are saying. If people are saying, I love this, continue to do it. If they said, oh, I think you should fix this, change it. Continually analyze your content in any way, shape, or form. Ask, okay, can I do it better? How can I be more creative and all of those things? And I think if you be yourself, be yourself plus creativity, I think you will smash it.
Yeah. For anyone who's starting it, or if I was to go back, this is what I would do. First of all, I would look at the type of content I want to make. I would look at the top creators. I mean the top. Don't look at anyone below 100K. Look at anyone with a minimum of 100K, 200K and upwards. Why I say that? Because it's a very proven concept.
Yeah.
So once you do that, now what they do, that's your baseline, right? So if they do their hook in this specific way, that's where you start, because that's a formula that works. And then what you do is start to add your creativity. You start to add your personality. You start to add stuff that only you can replicate, and you'll be able to replicate time and time and again. And the thing is, always be creative. as the wildest things, the wildest ideas are the things that work, and focus on the type of quality content. What I mean by that is not obviously make sure how the video looks is good, but in terms of if I was somebody else, would I watch it? Just look at it and just be so analytical about it, and then from that you would try to find a form. The reason why I say don't look at anybody else below that, it's not that they want to have great ideas. It's just that the people that are there, they're the pinnacle at what they already do. So if you can just follow that, it will get you to at least a decent understanding. So we saw this one woman, I can't remember, she was from America. She does clean places nobody asks us to clean. She's cleaned like tombstones. The audience, I don't know, they're a bit in and out about that one. But she just cleans random places. She was like, she's done it. So how can we apply it to the UK? And what I do is always find a lot of American creators, right? Copy them, add your own, and then bring it to the UK.
Yeah.
Because you don't see a lot of them like that.
That is really, really valuable content. First of all, everything you've just said. Just to summarize it all, it's what we talked about with the business. Just start, right? And then you will refine, and it'll be constant development, and you're listening to the feedback from your viewers in the comments. The other thing is, copy tried and tested methods. You've got an algorithm that everyone thinks is this all-knowing being, but it's just human beings, right?
Yeah.
What do you like to watch? Apply that to your videos, right?
So now we're kind of seeing a trend. We were talking about this earlier as well, about how businesses aren't just about the brand. They aren't just about the product. What we're actually in a lot of the time is the people business. So one thing that I really love about you guys is like your personal brand. And like, as you guys were just mentioning, like you really need to show your personality. And that's kind of what really engages your customers. How important do you think it is for someone to grow their personal brand? And then off the back of it is, do you find that interferes with your business, or do you think it elevates it?
Okay. So how to build your personal brand? I think it's very, very important that you do, because we always say people buy from people. It's that simple. If you're not showing who you are, if you're not being vulnerable at certain points, if you're not giving out whatever you know, and then you wouldn't succeed. Especially in this day and age, just because people buy into people, especially if you're going to go on the social media presence, if you're not willing to show that, then I don't think you would do well. And for the second part of the question, it does interfere, but this is where you go from being a social media influencer for a person to become a businessman. So it goes simple. In every business, so we see our social media as a business. It's not even a social media. The one thing we realized is I think we figured out a way how to do it now. Before, it used to interfere quite a lot. What we didn't have before was systems. And people forget that. Yeah. It's so key to have systems in place. Like, one of the things is, for us, before we had like a cameraman and all of those, we would go to one place, clean it, done. But we would from that day, we'd only get one content. So now what we've decided to do is, okay, go to different locations in a day, do as many content and batch it. So then you have like 2-3 weeks worth of content, which then allows you to then focus and spend more time on the business and all of those kind of things. Because I think at certain points we just didn't have the time, because it just required so much time we had like a funnel of like how it goes from, like, let's say we wanted to clean a farm. So it's every department, social media, brand manager, videographer, what do they do? And we've realized that if there's 5 stages, we only need to come in at stage 3 or 4. Before, we used to start at stage 0. So go through the whole thing, and we were like, well, we're not needed there. We're kind of lucky that we have a good team that allows us to do it, and they're very creative. So they understand us, and if anything, probably they have crazy ideas than us. But it's all of those kinds. So when we had those funnels, so we realized that 4 and 5, that's where we needed to be. So we said, okay, because we're not there, that's a lot of time that we've saved. And those are those kind of things. So it depends on how, for everybody is all different. But that's what we figured out for us, finding systems that work for the company, for the actual cleaning company, and then for the social media side as well.
Building a personal brand, I said, does it impact you? Very much positively. on and off socials. Because a lot of people think that, oh, it only impact me on socials. So building that personal brand always allows that person to have that connect. The people who we've met, they have been predominantly through our social media. They've reached out or they know it's a friend of a friend. And that's exactly what it is. I always recommend people to build a personal brand. Be honest, be vulnerable, show people what it's like to do what you do, because that's how they build that connection.
Yeah.
Because without that connection, you're just a random stranger. Why do you think, if you look at, I always say this to people, look at the people that you like to watch on a daily or you love. You reason why you like them in the first place, it felt like you have some sort of connection to them. Why? Because they're being vulnerable and you can relate to a part of their life. So for example, someone who's struggled or had hardship, you've had it in your life, so you can relate to them. Like, oh, that actually kind of reminds me of it, and it builds that trust. And when you're doing it, even like when you're going to like businesses or people, they'll be like, I already know what you do. I love what you do. And it just becomes easier. It breaks that barrier of, do we really trust you?
Yeah.
You've already put all of that out there and they can see it. And then from there, they would then decide whether they want to go ahead with it or not.
Yeah, and personal brand, I think people sometimes forget personal brand doesn't just mean online. It means offline. It means when you're going to clients, how do you make them feel? How do you speak to them? And somebody always says this, people will forget what you say, but they'll always remember how you made them feel.
Exactly.
So if you remember, so the other day we were on the train, just talking to some people next door, just talk about what we do. They said, where you guys coming from? Next thing you know, that certain part of the carriage were listening to our conversation. They found out who we were, found out our social media. Then they said, and those kind of things. But that's personal branding as well. It's like, it's how you carry yourselves in every day, that's what it is.
I think what's really interesting about what you're saying is building vulnerable or allowing yourself to be vulnerable in front of your audience. Because, for example, with you guys, we've seen your videos, high energy, big smiles, and that's all over your Instagram and TikTok. But then, for example, the Simon Squibb video, and for people who don't know who Simon Squibb is, he's a serial entrepreneur. He works with small businesses, helps them to grow and elevate, gives them really sound advice and often financial backing as well. So it was seeing that video from you guys and you talk about your story, and that was the first time I'd heard it. And I thought it was so compelling. And that was partly why we wanted to speak to you in this kind of setting, because we were like, there's so much more to these boys. If there's anyone to learn from, it's you guys, because there was one moment in that video that I really, really resonated with, which is you were talking about experiencing homelessness. And this kind of got glossed over. You talk about it and you say, people might have found it hard. I didn't find it difficult. Or I didn't find it that tough. It doesn't really get referenced, but I remember looking at that and pausing the video and being like, wow, okay. I really want to know what it is about these guys' mindsets that has led to them feeling like what is objectively a tough scenario is not tough, and how that's translated into you building your brands, building your businesses, and the way you interact with people on a day-to-day basis.
I think the answer to what you said is, first of all, it's my mum. So when we were going through it, my mom was very brave about it. I can only remember 2 times that I saw her cry. That broke me. And I always say to our brothers, it's like, I don't want my child to experience what I've experienced. And this was at maybe 14, 15. So for you to think like that in the first place is a bit uncommon, because I want my child to never once experience the difficulty of not having a consistent home. Not having that, it's an undescribable feeling, and it's only a certain type of mindset and character that only allows you.
Yeah.
So for us, we saw it as like, we have the choice. Everyone always has a choice. You have the choice whether to make the situation you've been through a limiting factor, or it can make it to be something that's uplifting. You choose that. So we decided as a collective that it wasn't going to be something that would limit us. So we was like, okay, it's going to be something that uplifts us. And then from there, our whole mentality changed. So that's why whenever it was an issue for somebody else, it wasn't an issue for us. For example, we used to live in a place called Uxbridge. I used to go to a school in Purley. That is very far away from each other. We used to wake up at 4, leave at 5 just to be late for school. It didn't make any sense, but that's how far we used to live. And then in that scenario, someone could be like, "Oh, I'm not really going to try. I'm going to..." And then when you speak to people will be like, I understand because you've been through something hard. But I was like, nah, I don't want people to feel sorry for me. I want people to feel not motivated, but I don't want my circumstance to determine who I am and where I'm going to be. That's why I always say, and that's why we were open about it. And I always let people know that, look, I've been homeless. So for me, that was the bottom of the bottom. I can't go any lower than that.
Yeah.
So the only way I can go is up. But we chose to go up. That's the difference. So that's why I said mindset is you have to really work on it and you have to really change your perspective of it.
And I think another thing is that we just don't see his life as that deep.
No.
We even till today, like, our team knows that 90, maybe 80, 90% of the time, we're not serious.
No.
We're unserious.
Yeah.
Like, but when it's that 10, 20% when we need to be, we'll be serious. But it's because we see life as not that deep. If we compared ours to some other people, I have nothing to talk about. Mine is not even that bad.
Yeah.
So when I started looking at it, like when we started looking at it like that, we were like, oh, there's nothing to complain about because there's people that always have it worse than you. And then that's what it is. I think it's just that mentality of just not, we just never let it get to us. And it's definitely through our mum and our dad that allowed us to have that strong-ass mentality that does that. But yeah.
It's only until we're against like the trials and tribulations of life that it like really puts our like problems into perspective. Like a lot of people who are just very privileged, like it's only a minor setback that can like throw them entirely off course. Because you have had the upbringing you have, the problems you've had, it's made you able to face like greater challenges.
What is posting an Instagram story or Instagram video compared to...
That's true. And we always say that the when we're homeless that was the most difficult thing in life.
Yeah.
Like right now, what we do, it's not difficult. Like I chose to do this. So that's the difference. And because I don't even think it like it's difficult, this is easy compared to what I went through. So then I just look at it, well, like, okay, there's going to be some downs. You just go through it and that's it.
Absolutely. I want to touch on this point, and it was another thing you referenced in that Simon Squibb video.
Yeah.
And you talked about your mum. There was a point in the video where you said, our parents have taken us so far.
Yeah.
So it's up to us to, essentially go to the next level.
Yeah.
Can you expand a bit more on that and why it's a driving motivator and what that means to you guys when you say driving forward?
It's a driving motivator just because we always see this as well. So our parents made the biggest sacrifices they made. So our parents, most people actually don't know this, is that so we were born in Nigeria, we lived there for 6 years, came here when we were 7. Then at that point, mum and dad were living together. Then my mum, a year before we came, she comes to the UK to find a better life for us. So she comes, she's trying, we all come over. And then we thought, okay, when we're here, dad will meet us in a couple of years. 1 turns to 2. Next thing you know, it's 17 years that we haven't seen him. But my mum has gone back a few times and they've seen it. And they're still happily married. And the thing we look at is our parents. The reason why I say that is because our parents, their sacrifices they made is much bigger than any sacrifices that I have made. Because they sacrificed their life, their marriage, their everything, so that their kids can live a better life. So it's only fair that it's our turn to do the same for them. And we've always seen that, like, I always, from young, at least 14, I've always said to Mum, I just have a feeling that we're going to be successful. I said, you have nothing to worry about. I said, and then I always say to my mum, don't worry, we'll buy you a house. You won't buy a house that you can afford. We will buy you a house that you want to buy. And that's what I always said to her. And then it's those kind of things that we say to our mum, say to our dad. And those are the kind of things that basically got us to where we are today. But yeah, it's our parents' mentality that's really strong. It really passed down to us because even my former boss was telling me, I had a family friend, same situation as you guys. He's now in prison, doing life, but you are here. He said, how did that happen? I said, 1, God, 2, parents' mentality, and that was it.
And 3, we chose.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we did choose it.
So how do your parents feel about everything you've achieved and what you're doing right now?
Speaking to my mom the other day, because I always say to her, I was like, Mom, we get asked this a lot. So my mom wanted us to get either do a master's or a grad job because of the situation we were in. So yeah, it's the situation we're in, and for us to like solve it. So then Jen and I looked at it. That's why I said we're very analytical. We looked at 2 years, 3 years, maybe 5 years down the line. We said, if I was to get a master's or grad job, would this solve the issue that we're going through? The answer was no. So I said, that's probably not what we're going to do. And so then I told my mom, I'm not going to do a master's. I'm not going to do thing. I'm going to go and do, I'm going to start a business straight away. She was like, what? She's like, no, you guys should go and learn from other people. I said, no, Mom. I'm going to go and start it. And then I remember speaking to my dad, and my dad was like, go where you feel like you're moved to. And then so we started it. My mom, at first, it's not that she wasn't on board. She just wanted a different life than what we currently do. And then my dad has always been like, go and get it. Just if you feel like that's what you're led to do, just go and get it. And then now it's like my mom has seen us being recognized in public. We were going to church yesterday, and then she saw us get recognized. My brothers have seen it. So yeah, what do they think? They're very proud. They never thought it would be cleaning, and they're just happy that we do something that we love. There's even an ongoing joke to my mom. We don't really work because all she sees is this whole. She was like, we don't really work. She always just sees this like social media. But I always tell her, Mom, that's like a very small aspect.
I think people misconstrue that quite a lot. They see you having fun on social media and getting all these followers, but I think today is a very good example of the amount of effort and thought that goes in the background.
Yeah.
Not just you guys, well, you've got a whole team.
Yeah. The Magnificent game, we were up till like 4 a.m. just to feel like, okay, we had this idea. We always ask ourselves, how can we make cleaning fun? So it was like, why don't we make cleaning games that are fun? And then so when it was even us that came up with the Magnificent name. His name is Jack. Yeah, he's our videographer. Jack was like, Maka. Magnificent games.
Yeah,
and then that's how we came into the idea. And then we always said to him, like, we always want to make it fun. That's what we would tell the whole team. And then that's why we said, let's make cleaning fun and give away money. And then people forget that they're cleaning, but they're still cleaning.
What I've realized is like you guys seem very grounded in terms of like who you're doing it for and why you're doing it. And I think a lot of people get lost in like the pursuit of success. Sometimes we need to like kind of go back that life isn't just about like money, success, Insta followers.
Yeah.
What would you say is for you guys, like I guess your why? Like what makes you feel like life is fulfilling?
Is that I wake up doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's an undescribable feeling. It's not that we're cleaning. It's not about the cleaning. It's that I wake up, I get to say that I'm doing what I want to do because I have fun doing it. And that's, to us, I think that means a lot more than anything else. It's not that we couldn't have gotten a grad job. It's not that we couldn't have gotten a master's. I just didn't have the passion. I just felt like, no, this is not, I can't wake up continuing to do this. Or it's not even about working for somebody else. Because at the end of the day, everybody's definition of success is different. Like to me, success, if I buy my parents their house, I've succeeded. Anything after that, it's just an add-on. So everybody's definition of success is, it's not about the money that we make, because we know that we'll make a lot of money. So it's not about that. Money is not a driving factor to why we do everything what we do. It's just that, can we create something great? And that, I think that's the fun part. Seeing if something from like an idea, my brother always says it, is that people paid you for your idea like a year ago. Once that was a thought that was in your head, people are giving you money to do it. And I was like, yeah, it's just about waking up to do what I want to do.
And we've spoken to a lot of our mentors. They always say, the best part that they wished if they were to go back is enjoy the journey. Because when you made it, you forget, and then
Yeah.
so like that's what I said. John and I have a lot of conversations. Last year, I remember we were going to one of our clients, and then John asked me a question: "Are we successful?" I said yes. John said, I'm not really too sure." And then I asked myself, I said, "John, which way would you rather have it? Would you have, at that point, would you rather have more commercial deals, or would you have what we currently have?" So this is before BBC News. This is like after we've done like the TFL, we've done it with London Zoo. And then I was basically trying to explain, or I was trying to tell John, I was like, look, why are always people telling us that we're successful in what we're doing and we're not seeing it? Then I was like, oh, maybe what we identify success as, what a lot of people identify success as, is money. So they haven't made a certain amount of money. But then someone once told us, I think success is what people dream to do, but you've done it. So I was like, wow, that's a really good point. And then from then on, I said, you know what? We are successful in what we do.
Yeah.
And then that kind of changed our mindset and was like, success is what we determine. So we don't determine success as not how much money we've made. We determine success is what we're able to do, achieve, impact people. And then from there, we were like, actually, I'm successful at what we do.
Yeah. And to add one more is to show people anything is possible.
Yeah.
That's another key of like why we continue. Because I always say, I didn't have the best of start. I didn't have
the money.
And I'll touch up on this point. So people always say that, oh, because you guys got introduced to Simon, you guys got lucky. And I said, fine, maybe we got lucky. But the one thing is, Simon opened the door. Now it's your turn to keep that door open. And that's what people fail to understand. Like, it's not even just Simon. There's many people that, many things, many opportunities that come. They've opened the door for you, but now it's your turn to do the rest of the work. And because people don't see that, Simon is exactly who he is. You see on social media, exactly who he is in real life. He doesn't take credit. He's not doing it to please other people, and he's not doing it to show that, oh, I'm this person. So yeah, it was like those kind of things. So Simon opened the door for us, but we kept it open because I'm just saying this, look at all the other people. And all the other people think, okay, yeah, I've got Simon. That's great. My life will change. Yeah, it could change. Fine.
It will change.
It will change. But then now it's your turn. And it's then showing that, fine, yes, we got Simon, but it's showing that anything is possible. That's the key, because yes, we got lucky. Who doesn't get lucky along the way?
But I just want to counter that point.
Yeah.
I just want to make it abundantly clear that I don't think you got lucky getting Simon. You put yourself in the right position.
I agree.
Exactly.
I like it.
And
That's
that
not
opportunity presented itself to you because of what you'd done already.
True.
Like,
That's
you
very
guys were in
true.
front of Simon because you are who you are, right?
That's true.
Like-
that's very true.
Like that's, to me, it's not like that is still strategic, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I've gone through like a similar process where like I'm part of this mentorship program. Everyone's like, oh, it's kind of lucky that you got that. Like, it came around the right time. I was like, no, but like I planned that. Like I
applied for it.
like I applied for it. Like
Yeah,
I
that's
made sure I was in
true.
front of the right people. And that's
true.
like what you guys have done. You put yourself in front of Simon, and that's why you are where you are. And then I love the next point, because it's like, yeah, you can put yourself in front of Simon, you can connect yourself, but it's about what you do from there. Like, he's not going to do everything for you. Everyone, like, I mean, I hope everyone knows that, like, he's not the one running shit.
No.
Like, it's you boys, right?
Yeah.
And then it's about, because my uncle was saying this to me the other day. So we don't drive. He said, he said, why don't you drive? I said, well, because the test backlog. He said, no, don't get twisted. He said, if there was a test tomorrow, are you ready? I said, no. He said, see, that's the problem. So it's not that there's no test, it's that you're not prepared. So when the door gets open, it's, are you prepared for it? Are you prepared? I think people look at what we do and think it's easy, but I think because they do that, that means we've done a phenomenal job. Because they think we just wake up, clean a random place, and they don't think about everything else. There's a logistical, all of these kind of things. But it's truly just to show to people that, and truly anything, especially the people that are that have known us before all of this, it's like, it's kind of funny seeing them see people recognize us, because they're like, wow, I didn't know you guys get recognized, and I'll just smile. But yeah, that's what it is.
And even with that, it's all about like creating that luck.
Yep.
Like everyone gets lucky, right? But you have to choose whether you're going to create that space, be in the right environment, meet the right people. And a lot of people forget is once you're in that space, it's now your duty to grasp everything from it. And by doing that, so a lot of people, I think, how they see the world is someone gives me something, but I don't have to give something back. And I think that's a wrong mentality. I think value. Someone's providing you value, try at least provide some sort of value to that other person, because then it's like an equal exchange.
Yeah.
There always has to be some sort of an equal exchange.
Like,
Provide value to other people, because once you do, I think it changes the game. So like when people get into those doors, they'd be like, okay, great, this person can do this for me, right? But I was like, what can I do? That's the mentality you have to have. It's like, what can I do for this other person?
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's say you got a mentorship, right? This person has made, let's say, it's made a good amount of money. You can't compete with them for money, but what you can compete, let's say, is creativity, the time, the effort, the understanding of a different aspects of what they currently do, and that's the value you bring to them. So then when they see you, they'll be like, okay, this is a valuable relationship, valuable person. Like, and that's just why they like every bit of relationship we have, there's an equal value.
I think sometimes people get the value thing wrong, especially like if you're networking with a very successful businessman. No, just analyze what he doesn't like to do. So if you know in the mornings, he doesn't really like making coffees, make the coffee for him. So when he gets to the office, it's there. Like if he says he doesn't like doing the printing, or he doesn't like responding to certain emails, respond it for him. Say, here are the emails that came through. This is what I think you should respond with. Should I send it off? And that's how you become valuable. So it's not, sometimes value is not even about the money. Sometimes like the smallest thing, like if I don't like doing something and somebody does it for me on a continuous basis, but obviously I'm helping them, that thing that they do is valuable to me. Yeah. That's what it is.
Definitely. You got to give before you take.
Yeah.
To an extent, like what's next, right? Like you guys have like grown your social media following. Of course, like I imagine you guys want to do that further. You want to grow the cleaning business. So you mentioned that like you want to get like your mum a house, and anything after that is extra. Do you have any other like goals or milestones you want to hit?
I think our biggest goal this year is to carry on change your perspective of how cleaning is viewed. The reason why we started in the first place is because when we first started the cleaning company, a lot of people, they look down upon whether you do it, whether you own it or whether you do it as a job. Is there a way that we can change that perspective? That's how we add fun. That's how we add energy. And then it shows that anything's possible. We've turned something boring, mundane into something that someone that doesn't care about cleaning would watch. And that's exactly how it is. So it's just continue to do that. And it's to change your perspective of how cleaning is viewed without ever saying, guys, come on, let's change how cleaning is viewed. It's like literally showing that cleaning can be something fun. It could be something that whether you do it, something that you could be proud of. Yeah. And that's why I think a lot of even young people, a lot of kids, they even come to us and say, I love what you do. I remember these are kids that they don't really, I remember when I was in school, they didn't really, if I saw a cleaner or if I saw someone clean, I didn't really think anything of it. But now they see us to be, oh my days, I love what you do. Like you're getting them to change their perspective of cleaning. You've planted that seed, and then as they grow, that's what you're going to see. So yeah, in terms of that, it's probably to grow, to change the perspective of cleaning. I think our aim maybe this year is to have 1 million followers.
Yeah.
Across all our social media.
Yeah. It's not even about the follow. I think for me, the goal is just continue to have fun and see what we build. Because I don't know what 5 years look like. I don't even bother sometimes looking at that. I just look at 1 year. I said, what we trying to achieve this year? And then it's just continue to do that. I think it's, what I definitely know, if James and I continue to have fun in any way, shape or form, we will continue to do well. So as long as we continue to have fun while creating something phenomenal. Like, I don't know where God wants us to take. I don't know. I couldn't even tell you. But what I do know is have fun, do it, and just let's see what we can create.
And then the commercial side should probably
Continue to grow.
Get more commercial clients, build the team bigger.
For some people, I think the answer is kind of boring, but
for us, it's just carry on doing what we're doing. Take it to new heights.
Yeah, and
enjoy what we're doing.
Yeah, and push the limit. See what we can do. What can we push? What can we go? Can we get to crazier places? Can we work with different brands? Can we get cool cleaning contracts? Can we get? It's like the world is our oyster. It's whatever we choose it to be.
I think that's why British Airways for us was such a statement. So we started that year. No one knew what we did about the company, nothing at all. We then cleaned places nobody asked us to clean. Clean TFL. The Simon video came out. Did London Zoo. London Zoo was like, oh my days, like company or outside the individual. They actually love what we do. And then even how that came about, we told all our fans, tag them. And they literally told us to say the reason why it made it happen was because we saw that your community, your fans were tagging us and we loved that. So they invited us. We were with penguins, the coolest, such a cool experience. Seeing penguins, it was so cool. Then kept doing cleaning more random places. Then it was BBC News. And BBC News was like that stamp of approval of the idea works. It's actually a visible concept. And if you look at slightly back from London Zoo, it shows that instead of like painting a bad light on the brand or the place we're going to go and clean, you're actually educating other people on how they keep it clean. That's how it was London Zoo that gave us the idea. We say, I'm James Nigel, we clean places nobody asks us to clean. They said, is it possible we can say, I'm James Nigel, and we usually clean places nobody asks us to clean. But today we've been asked by London Zoo to go and wherever, etc. And that's what we do. So it's about educating it. And then so when we went on BBC News, it was like that stamp and approval of the idea works. So it was like, okay, the idea works. People love what we're doing. It's not just people, but it's also a big media companies, BBC News, they're known worldwide. And then I think the thing that set it off, that just done the biggest stamp was British Airways, because look at it, we went from it just being John and I doing it to being now invited by $1 billion company to go and clean a plane. First of all, we were the first one in their history that isn't part of the cleaning team to be ever allowed to do that. So it was like we said that we made history. So it was like about that point, it was like, and that's how we changing the perspective of cleaning and making it fun. So it was like, wow, I can't believe something so simple got us to British Airways. That's how we see it. I was like, wow, what a year. Like if you ask me, so we have a whole cleaning bucket list, right? If you ask me what was on it, promise you, plane was the last thing I think we're ever going to do. And then to British Airways itself, it's incredible.
And I think to add to the question, I was thinking about it. I think it's to prove to ourselves that anything is possible. Limiting beliefs is just you. It's what you believe. Like if somebody said, I don't think you could have cleaned the plane, it would have never happened.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, I think it's continue to prove to ourselves that anything is possible. And that's what it is. And just have fun doing it.
Yeah. This is what I love about you guys as well. The fact that you know exactly why you're doing it. And you're doing it because you want to change perspectives. It's not about chasing money.
No.
There's the whole family element. I think it's why people resonate with you so much and why you are where you are.
There's a list of places you want to clean. What's like some of the most outrageous? If you're willing to share that.
A tank.
Be willing to
Tank.
share.
Yeah,
Tank farm, Formula One, the Shard, jumping out of an airplane with Red Bull and cleaning. There's many.
Hot air balloon.
There's many.
There's many.
Yeah.
Honestly,
like the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like somebody said, go to clean a rocket ship.
Yeah.
But,
These guys are gonna be on Mars.
yeah, somebody said it.
What is
many
it?
like truly. There's the Eiffel Tower. Some people have said going to famous places around the world, going to clean some of their stuff. Yeah, just any crazy place.
The list, I think, is ever growing.
It's ever growing. Yeah. That's why whenever we meet people, we always get onto the conversation and we then ask them, like, where do you think we should go clean at? Because sometimes they bring something we never thought of. And that's what it is. And then we just add that.
Like
to
a
this.
famous film set. That was one
Yeah,
of it.
somebody said that, yeah.
I won't be surprised if we start seeing some of those over the next year.
Nah.
Very exciting. No, I think some of those could happen. Some
No,
are very
I
realistic.
think of it as very realistic.
I wanted to ask, you guys are obviously brothers in business. So are we. So I wanted to understand your perspective about being family and running business together. Because obviously you're going to argue like brothers. You're going to treat each other
course.
like brothers.
Yeah.
So what's your experience been? And also the difference is Hanan and I are not twins. How is that different? Because you also have brothers. How is it different working together versus one of your actual brothers?
Working together. So when we first started, there was a lot of egos, right? So I went to a different uni. I went Bournemouth, John went Portsmouth. We had, for 4 years, had different ways of how we got things done in terms of personal life and in terms of the work. So before this company, we had another company that we were doing predominantly online. So like we could do it in our own separate times. Then when we came together, we had to drop our egos. The reason why family doesn't work is because there's egos involved. Realistic, if you look at it like this, if there's strangers coming in, you would automatically drop your ego, but because it's your brother, your cousin, your family friend that you've known for X, so you're like, oh, but it's only just Michael. Do you understand? It's only just Michael.
Yeah.
So we had to immediately drop our egos and we'd be like, look, at the end of the day, we both have this company. We both wanted to do well. So we had a common goal, right? I think that's very important, that you have to have a common goal with the other person. It's like with anything else anyways. So once we had that, it was okay, we have a common goal. We dropped each other's egos and we're like, okay, so let's say cleaning a farm, right? The idea, let's say cleaning a farm, John said it. Says his bit, I will say my bit, and then we've just learned the combined, that's what we do really well with. And people always ask us, is there a leader in the company who's up front? There's none, because we've learned it's very difficult. Even we still struggle with today to drop our egos.
Yep.
And like you said, we do argue like brothers, but it's all for the greater good. But dropping your ego has to be one of the most important things that you have to do.
I'm conscious of bucketing you two as these twins, and you're the Maka Group brothers, but you're obviously also John and James.
Yeah.
You're individuals. How do you differ in terms of your personality or your approach to business or personal life?
It's funny, people ask us all that time, and the answer is we think the same. Like our personality is so aligned. Like we're good at the same things. We're bad at roughly the same things. And it's kind of funny that's why it's different. Like when I work with James, because it's like he understands me very well and I understand him very well, and that's what it is. So there is no real differences between both of us. That's why the twin things even works even more. But before this business, we didn't like dressing the same. Hated it. Hated dressing the same. Hated dressing the same. But we said, you know what, for the company and for what we do, why can't we just play on the twins?
Yeah.
And we just continue to do it, and that's what it is. But it doesn't, before it used to bother us, but now it doesn't bother us. And we've never, to be fair, I said, okay, James wants to go to Bournemouth Uni. I was like, I don't really want to go to Bournemouth. I want to go to a different uni to see if is my identity linked to James and is James and vice versa. Then I quickly realized it's not. It's just, we are who we are individually, and together it just works. Because it's one of those things like people would say, you have a twin, why didn't you bring it up? I said, when would I bring it up? Like conversation. I don't know how that conversation, I would be like, if they ask how many brothers, I say, yeah, I have a couple brothers, and that's what it is. And sometimes they don't believe I have a twin, so I have to call him, and then he has to pick up, and then it's like, yeah. But apart from all of that, think the same, do the same things, understand where we're trying to take it, and yeah, it kind of works.
I think because our whole life we've just been grouped together.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we know we're very similar within ourselves, but we're also very different. So it doesn't matter whether people group us together, people separate the two. It doesn't really bother us. We've had it our whole life. Even some people now, they don't really know the difference. So for us, it's like, it's like something that I'm so used to. I've used to it all my life. So I don't really know like I don't really know if there's a difference. I mean, there is a difference, but that's why uni was so cool, because I think that's what solidified our own personalities,
Yeah.
and then we brought it together, and that's what makes.
And then we realized that we were the same people.
Yep.
Just in different places. So we in terms of that, we don't have an identity crisis.
No.
Thinking like, oh my days, do I think too much like James or vice versa? No, I don't have those. Yeah.
So aligned values as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Very aligned values.
Amazing. And then, forgive me for asking this, you've got
No, it's
two
fine.
other brothers.
Yeah.
How come you work? Obviously, you're very similar, but what is it about your dynamic that led you to work together as opposed to working with another brother?
I think it's because our value was aligned, and we were always together, and we said, well, if we're going to start a company, we might as well we do a company that we both want to do, and those kind of things.
And then our two other brothers, they just want to do their own thing.
Yeah.
They don't really want to be mixed with. It's not that they don't want to be mixed, but they want to be like their own set of people.
Yeah, they have their goals.
Yeah, they have their own goals, their own vision.
But the thing is, I'm pretty sure all of us could work together. All
Yeah.
four of us could create a business together, just because we have such a great relationship with one another. Yeah, that's pretty easy.
I guess this is the thing, right? Like with Daniel, it's like I've always said to him, it was like, who else do you want to bring onto your team other than your brother, right?
Yeah.
Like before Daniel jumped ship. So so I was running the family business. And Daniel was working in finance, quite a successful role as well. But I was just like, where the business is now, I'm about to hire like someone quite experienced, and they're going to start being my right-hand man. But I could scrap all of that and you just come on board and we can grow this together. Like, because no one else is going to work as, like, no one's going to work
No one's going
as
to have
hard
the same
as
values.
you. Like, yeah, no one's going to share the responsibility of like running and owning a business other than your brother, right?
Yeah.
Like when times get tough, like you can employ anyone, but like when times get tough, they're gonna like they're gonna jump ship. But your brother won't, right?
People who are watching this, I think like what I want you to take home or think is, whatever you want to do, whatever idea you have, whatever you want to start it. Forget about whether you have enough money, you'll figure it out. The biggest, the underrated skill is say yes, figure it out later. If someone says, do you know how to do this? Yeah. And then you figure it out later.
Yeah. But
and
there's limits to that.
There's still limits to that. But don't say
course.
yes to something you can't do.
Yeah.
Or that's out your scope. And then from there, you just start it. It doesn't matter how you start. Don't compare yourself to other people. If people ask who your competitors, don't even bother your competitors. Just watch yourself, keep aligned, and then you go around, you stick along with something for at least 6 months, your life would have changed. And it may not be in terms of money, but in terms of opportunities. You won't be where you are in 6 months, where you were when you first started, especially if you're like, do it, and then be consistent in it.
Yeah.
And yeah, just do it, because you never know. I think that's the best thing about it. Just start. Starting is probably one of the most underrated skills or most underrated thing you can ever do that a lot of people brush by. But by starting it, you've opened doors.
And I think it's the reason why I like him, James, when he says start, is because we never figured that out. We started the whole company with £300. We were like, well, is that enough of money? I don't know. But the thing is, what I've learned is you just figure it out, as you said, as you go. Like, we didn't know how to, like, people call us, you guys are marketing genius. I didn't know I was good at marketing before. It's one of those things that you kind of learn on the job. And people say, how did you understand like the cleaning product? I said, I learned on the job. I think people focus too much on like trying to like get it perfect. Just start. Like, at the end of the day, even if you got it perfect, there'll be something you never thought of that is actually one of the biggest things that you need to fix. So if you just start it, and then you can then just iterate it, continue to improve it. And next thing you know, you've got a winning model, winning piece, and that's it.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We've had a really, really fantastic discussion. I think anyone watching today can take really fantastic sound advice from you guys, whether they're starting a business, whether they're starting in social media. I think they're going to learn a lot from what you guys have had to say and your experiences. Really hope to see you guys again soon. And again, thank you so, so much for being here.
You're welcome.
And just to end, I've been Daniel.
I'm Hanan.
I'm James.
And I'm John.
And we record podcasts nobody asks us to record.
That's great.
That's great. Can we do that on my phone as well? Are we okay? Like just on portrait, and then I want to post that.